Yes, so it's a very special evening, and I have to keep reminding myself that Saravantu is not going anywhere, as far as we know, because often when you have a big, it's like you think in terms of a big farewell, do you? But it's not a farewell, it's the marking of a transition, of a very important transition in Saravantu's life and in the life of our centre, which I'll say a little bit more about in a minute. But the evening is going to look like this. So we're going to start with, well, first we're not going to do the refuges and precepts now because we're going to do them in the puja, and I think we need to crack on with our packed programme, so I hope that's okay. So various people will be rejoicing in Saravantu with a fairly strict time limit. So we have myself, Annie, Carolyn and Karen. We will all be kind of, as it were, more formally rejoicing in Saravantu's merits, which is a wonderful Triratna practice for those of you who are sort of newish to our movement. It's a wonderful thing to do, a very positive affirmation of what is really of somebody's of good qualities, and Saravantu she overflows with good qualities. So we'll be doing that. So the four of us will speak, and then Saravantu will have an opportunity to speak if she wishes. I know things have been a little bit fraught, I think it's fair to say, at her end just lately, so that may be, we can leave that to her, whether she wants to speak or not. And then we're going to do a special Metta Bhavana, which won't surprise you. So which we'll do in 3 sections. So there'll be the usual starting with oneself, and then bringing Saravantu particularly to mind in the friend section. And she is a friend to so many of us here. That shouldn't be hard. And then expanding that out to all beings in the normal way. And that will account for the first half of the evening, I think, probably more or less. And then there will be tea and possibly the first half, the first sort of, go at the cake. Oh no, most very, very important before that. Rewind. So after we have rejoiced and before Saravantu speaks, there is going to be a special moment with a special presentation, which I'm not going to say anything about. And then Saravantu will get to speak. I almost forgot the most important part of the whole thing. And then we will have the meditation. And then there'll be a tea break. And then after tea break, we're going to do a special puja to Kuan Yin. Now, Kuan Yin is the female form of the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion. Commonly revered in countries in the Far East, so China, Korea, Japan, and so forth. And so we're going to be joining together in celebrating puja, during which Saravantu will make a ritual offering to the shrine, which will be kind of the symbolic handover of the sort of spiritual and temporal responsibilities that go with being chair, and she will hand over a ritual implement to the shrine in the course of that, and there will be a reading, and then we will recite the rest of the puja. That's sort of basically how the evening will go, and then there'll be more cake. Okay. So, blimey. It's really challenging, actually, to have to say something meaningful in just 3 minutes. And there's so much I could say, but when I was reading through this puja earlier, I lit upon sort of a particular verse from it, and I thought that's a really good starting point. And the lines in that verse read, "To your benevolent presence, to your reliable responsiveness, to your bountiful blessings with devotion we bow our heads." And I thought those are really good. That's a really good sort of set of a really good starting point to rejoice in Saravantu's qualities. Benevolent presence. Yeah. Saravantu brings just an air of benevolence, an air of well-wishing and kindliness to any encounter that I've ever had with her. Whatever's going on for her, and life isn't always necessarily that easy. She might be going through stuff, but she unfailingly brings this attitude, this response of well-wishing to people, to situations. And it's also fair to say that in our early days, the early days of our friendship, there were points at which we didn't quite meet, and we didn't quite understand how the other person worked. And I think there were ways in which I rather sort of disconcerted Saravantu or discombobulated her a bit about the way I did things, which for a lesser person could have been the cause of some, a bit of tension or conflict. But in Saravantu, what it resulted in was a sort of reaching out and a desire to know, what is it that makes you tick, and and a real kind of desire to for us to come together, for a real desire to understand me, and all framed in this kind of basic attitude of benevolence, of well-wishing, which never flagged. And out of that has arisen, I think, a really good friendship, which we're so different, but we're more alike. We're alike also in more ways than I think maybe we originally thought. So I know that goes for many people, just that sort of underlying sort of benevolence, well-wishing, care and concern, reliable responsiveness. Saravantu is nothing if not dutiful. Yeah, and she has dutifully served the centre and the Sangha for the last 7 years as chair, and put her all into doing that in so many ways. Doing the windows, painting skirting boards, taking on the whole centre conversion project when Abhayanara went off to get ordained. Having left behind a very secure job in the civil service and thrown all that up to come and do this for the centre for no money, for no support, and always there for that the whole of those 7 years. No matter what's come up, Saravantu has always been there, dependably responding to the needs of the situation, and dependably responding to the needs of her friends and people in the Sangha as well. So I wanted to celebrate that. And to your bountiful blessings. I mean, we have been blessed in so many ways. So Saravantu has so many good qualities, so many attributes. She's an excellent manager. She has a wonderful kind of capacity for detail and organisation and clarity that I just marvel at. Always full of ideas, and and things that the ideas they're always well founded and well thought through. So she's a very well organised person. So we've been very lucky to have her in that kind of capacity, holding the kind of spiritual side, the kind of the centre, but also so ably managing all of the kind of centre's temporal affairs, and just giving to the centre unstintingly in so many ways, meeting people, coming in to clean, looking after the practical sides of things, doing Sangha night, making sure there is a Sangha night for us to have term after term, coming up with ideas, basically being all things to all people so successfully. And I think sometimes at some personal cost, actually, but coming back to that sense of reliable responsiveness, that rising to the needs of the situation dependably over all of those years, and giving in so many ways that I haven't got the time to scratch the surface. So I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to pass on to Annie.
Yeah.
Will you be heard? Will Annie be heard if she sits over there from the microphone?
Am I heard?
Why don't you come sit here?
Then you'll be heard and seen. Thank you. Oh gosh. Okay, thank you, Saravantu. And Sadhu, I echo everything that's been said there. And like Akasharaja, I thought 3 minutes. That is no time at all to rejoice in anybody, let alone somebody who's been so magnificent as yourself. So I'm going to start off anyway. I will try and keep this short, and it's mainly personal reflections. So I'm going to start off the very first time I saw Saravantu. It was at the Friends Meeting House, and it was quite a few years ago. And Tim was there, who is now a Abhayanara, and he had said, "Oh, my girlfriend is going to pop in later." Well, anyway, the evening went on, and a bit later came, and then there was this woman stood in the middle of us all, and there was this smile Well, it felt like when she smiled at me, the sunshine had been turned on. And, I see a nod. So I'm not the only person, and I didn't think I possibly would have been or could have been, that's had that experience. And I still get, I see another nod. Good, I'm glad I'm not annoying people. So I also see that when she sits down here now, and she sits here, and she watches us all come in, and there's a calmness around her as well. And then there's that smile. And she looks actually generally happy to see us all. She really does. And thank you for that. Then this is going on to my fourth point, which is my final point, but there's a few points in between. So this one, this one is about probably the most important thing that I've really thought about when I thought in depth what I really want to rejoice in you, is that Saravantu has a way and a wish and a desire which comes from deep within her, and she really, really, really wants to us, people, all sentient beings, including plants, including animals, to fulfill their potential. That's what I really see in you, Saravantu, and it's a really rare quality. I see that you try in every way that you can so that people can fulfill their potential, and it's not only within Triratna. I think you've done this for a long, long, long time. I don't know, I don't know, but that is my feeling. And I don't think, because you are not going to be chair anymore, that that's not going to be part of your life. So that is my really deepest rejoicing in you. The other ones, which I could just quickly pass through probably, you've got, that's that one. That I also said a huge heart was going to lead into that one, which I didn't take there. Oh yes, that you take life very seriously, in that you see it as a meaningful thing, and it's a precious thing, life. So Saravantu lives the Dharma life at quite a high dial. You know, if you imagine the radio, it's turned out quite high already with Saravantu, and I've witnessed that because she invited me at one point and Jyotidana to come into her house while Tim was being made into a Bayanara. And it was such an easy transition. And Saravantu, she's not putting on a show for us. She lives what you see. She is what you see is what you get with Saravantu. So I haven't been able to catch her out, so to speak. Yeah, that probably says that one. What you get is what you see, so that's that one. Huge heart, we've gone there. Big smile, gone there. Yeah, I think that's probably my 3 minutes. There's much more I could say. Kindness, generosity. Thank you. Thank you for your friendship.
Lovely. Thank you, Annie. So if I could ask Carolyn to come to the hotspot.
Bit of a mighty task to rejoice in your qualities in a few minutes, because there are so many of them.
I should have worn a short sleeve shirt.
There are so many qualities that have inspired me over the years that I've known you. My throat's decided to be a bit difficult. Is it right? Whose water is this?
It's mine, but I don't think I've got anything. So.
Famous last words. So in terms of my own personal history, I arrived from Manchester Buddhist Centre, and we were in the Quaker meeting house, and I knew Karen because I was coming in with Karen, but she was the only person I knew, and very quickly I had my mitra ceremony. So I was pretty nervous about it. I'd seen a couple in Manchester, but really, I knew I wanted to be a mitra, I knew I wanted to commit, but I was quite nervous. So what I remember from those moments is looking at you before I took my flower to the shrine, and your expression of reassurance, encouragement, and huge kindness, which calmed me down and enabled me to just be with that ceremony and that moment of devotion in the way I wanted to be. And then you led our newly formed Mitra study group, And you, out of your generosity, you opened your home to us. I don't know where Abayinara went. He went off somewhere in the garden while we filled your living room. There were quite a few bumps in the road over those years, but whatever the difficulties, some arising from the text, and some personal difficulties for people, and some difficulties in the movement during that time, your unfailing calm and equanimity with us all, and offering each one of us wise guidance during those times, the wise guidance that sometimes some of us really badly needed. And I think over those years, I was thinking about this, and I think it's the way you exemplified, I know it's the way you exemplified in every situation a creative response rather than a reactive one. So your lack of reactivity that really has had an effect on me personally. And it was when this centre was purchased, Tim went off to a castle in Spain, decided to leave us to it. And I had the good fortune to work alongside you, sanding windows and doing all these things, minute details, which you're so good at. But it was the way you had in mind that sort of wider vision. And that's when I saw your drive and commitment for our Sangha. It really struck me. And finally, your compassion and courage in facing decisions that have had to be, you've had to meet concerning your own family. And that's very much influenced me with the difficulties I've got at the moment. And it's been a constant inspiration to me. So, enormous gratitude.
Thanks, Carolyn. And lastly, Karen.
Okay. I don't normally wear short skirts. Oh, well, get a Buddhist to speak in 3 minutes. That's not easy, especially when it's about somebody as lovely as my very dear friend Saravantu. So, I was thinking what could sum it up, and what came to me today was Dado Rinpoche's motto: cherish the doctrine, live united, radiate love. You do all those things beautifully. So I met you, I think, like somebody else, I think it was actually you, Abayinara, that first mentioned your lovely partner. I thought, who is this woman? I hadn't met because you were in London a lot at that time, but I met you quite soon after I started coming, so that was the end of 2012, beginning of 2013, and you're just so friendly and warm and just sort of embodied the values that I cherish, sort of kindness and compassion and, warmth. And pretty early on, I didn't quite know when it was, because I had my mitra ceremony the following May, but at some point you invited Darren and I to come for a meal so we could meet some of these people that I was starting to hang out, so we could see what you were like, and which really helped. And you've just done so many things that are really, really very kind. I'm going to look at my list, because I don't know what I'm up to. You've got so many helpful tendencies. You see things that need to be done and you do them, or maybe get somebody else to do them sometimes, which is fine too. Very interesting about when we were doing things here, how I didn't do a lot here, did a bit of painting, but how you had that commitment. You were trying to maintain Abayinara's high standards. I mean, you've got high standards too, but it was very much you took on that. Keeping everything going along as it was. But what I saw, what you exemplified, some really skillful tendencies of breaking things down into smaller jobs, and just the way you talked about it at that time. There's this little guy here, if you want to do this job, if it's a bit too much, do something else, have a cup of tea. There's just something about, my journey with you has been a lot about learning about self-metta and self-compassion, about how to sort of stop sometimes, when to do and when not to do, and I've really learned a lot from you in that way. So many things as well. What else can I say? Your teachings, some of your teachings have been delightful, and the one that I like the best, and I think the talk is actually on YouTube, I think. And you had these, like a deck chair on the shrine, to symbolise sort of a blue sky mind, which helped me with that sort of idea of self-metta, and the bundle of sticks with the name and the label on it. Our conditions and our habits. So I really love the way you bring the Dharma into everyday life and make it sort of practical and accessible. So your passions, well, there's quite a few, and I don't know all of them, but some like friendship, friends to so many people, and I put the allotment here. I've got to say that. I mean, I think that the happiest I've ever seen you was once when I visited you on the allotment, and you're there with all this stuff, and I got you to send me a picture recently of that, because you just been to, there's 2 times that you've been, so that I've seen. So one is on the allotment and one is sat here. So when you're teaching, you just radiate this sort of loveliness. I don't know what the other word is, but it's just great. I love it. It just really feels like you're in the right place and you really enjoy it. So that's really gorgeous to see. But also various other projects that you've had. So I have to mention the Buddhafield Cafe team, which is one of the reasons that Darren sat in the shrine room, as some people will have already heard. So you led that for quite a number of years, the Buddhafield Breakfast Cafe team, which was just a brilliant experience. And again, saw your leadership qualities and how you still dance around the kitchen, but we got all the jobs done, and it's just brilliant. Yeah, I think that particularly the dancing around to ABBA, which is probably somewhere on film, it's great. And also been involved with the setting up the diversity cooler here, and I know that was a passion of yours. And you did the looking at a book on race, and I think that's really interesting, because when I first heard that, I thought, well, do we need that here? And clearly we do, and the more I've seen about it, and it's been really interesting being involved in that group, and I know that's important to you for that to carry on. So I think the fact that you know how I like to count how many people are here. So there's 50 people with here and online, just shows how much you're valued. That's really lovely. So thank you for all you've done for our Sangha and for me as a friend in a personal way. And just to sum up, I'd like to say I think you're a great woman. You're a lovely friend, and you're a beautiful being who radiates love wherever you go. Sadhu to you. Very good.
Thank you, Karen. Thanks, everybody, for those rejoicings. Now, I'm going to ask Penny to come forward and make our special mystery presentation.
Right, I'd like to present you with this book of rejoicings. It's been quite a journey for me, because I don't really know you, do I? So it's been a wonderful privilege to have this glimpse into the type of person you are, and I'd really like to be friends with you. So, you see, it's so marvellous. I hope you love it as much as I've loved putting it together for you. And anybody that didn't get a chance to send me anything, there are some spare pages at the back. Feel free to come and have it and write in it.
Oh.
So that is for you. Flowers. I've also
And it's
made
got a
flowers.
squirrel on it.
I know. Well, you see, I've been rather crafty and asking people, what colours does she like? What teachings does she like? What's her favourite animal? These are a bunch of wild poppies for you that were so I know they're not in permanent, but I thought I'd want to get away with that. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Penny.
Yeah, thanks, Penny. I know that was a real labour of love for you, but nonetheless a labour.
Loved it.
Yeah. Great.
Anyone is welcome to come and stroke.
Okay. So, if you feel so inclined, that was an opportunity for you, Saravantu, to come up and just say whatever you want to say.
Look at you all looking very lovely. So normally I have a really clear idea of what I'm going to say, but I'm trying to learn from Akasharaja the capacity to be spontaneous and unscripted and just be with what's alive. Yeah. I feel very, what do I feel? I didn't realise I would actually really should have brought a tissue with me. I didn't realise it might be quite that moving. Yes, how many COVID protocols can we alarm in one evening? So I do feel very loved and appreciated. I feel very seen. I feel slightly too visible and a little bit shy, but the plus side of that is I feel very seen. I feel like I'm with a community of people, which I am, who have journeyed with me, our lives weaving into each other's, sharing whatever it is, whether it's personal things or things going on in the world around us. So I feel the joy of that, and I think it's maybe, I think particularly poignant because I have just spent a kind of intense, 10 days or so with my parents. My mum's in hospital having had a hip replacement. And I think it's a context where in a way I don't feel very seen. And in a way, that's fine. I have felt very seen by them at other times in my life, and this is just a kind of different phase, which is fine. And then there's something about the contrast with coming somewhere and being quite so fully rejoiced in, and my good qualities seen. So thank you very much, particularly Akasharaja and Annie and Carolyn and Karen. I also kept feeling the need to say, you should have seen me last week. Like I do also occasionally binge watch rubbish and lose my rag with whatever. And even a few days ago I was very, very frustrated with my dad. And he was cursing and swearing. I felt very tempted to curse and swear back at him. But instead of that, I stalked, actually, I don't think I really walked, I think I stalked down the garden and hurled a few stones at a wall that I thought wasn't going to be harmed by them. So I was quite conscious about it, but I needed to kind of get a bit of energy out and moving. So, whilst I feel, the rejoicing lands, and I really appreciate that. And it's not always sparkly and whatever. It's just easy. And I really appreciated what you said about our friendship. And I'm sure I have also been quite difficult for Akasharaja. That you know, it's been two ways. We are very different beings, and I'm sure I was absolutely exasperating and probably controlling and just not easy for him, particularly in the early days of us kind of, two new friends learning to make sense of each other. I think it says a lot about him too, that we both have taken that not as a prompting to kind of just drift and avoid, but actually to keep trying to find curiosity and metta and points of connection. It feels like a real example of, in a way, the ideal of friendship in our community, that it's not just friendship where it's kind of easy from the beginning. Those are lovely as well, but but also the connections that can grow when we just bring an intention of metta and kind of stick around with each other and live through life together. What else did I want to say? I don't know if I should say something a little bit about the Vajra. This the Vajra that I will place on the shrine later. Shall I? It's a very beautiful, fairly weighty Vajra, and it's got a green tinge. Often think of it related to Amoghasiddhi and his qualities of energy, dynamism, courage and fearlessness. It's not actually the form of Vajra so much associated with him, but it brings that association for me. And even though it's not mine, and I don't actually know where it appeared from, someone in this room might do, but it was one of the various things that manifested in the shrine room cupboard, and that we were blessed with as a community. And I've often kind of thought of it as, I've known that it would be good at some point to have a sort of a ritual object that one chair would pass on to the next. And for some reason, this object felt like the one. So for now I'll just be placing it, well, not just, I will be placing it on the shrine, as Akasharaja said, to entrust it to the Buddhas. And very much I think the responsibility that I've carried as chair is being to some degree passed on to the collective of the trustees, in a way, in the sort of legal sense, from the point of view of the charity. They are a group of people who have been willing, bless them, to receive that responsibility. And they give with a great deal of love and energy in many ways. And I also have a feeling of kind of passing on this responsibility to all of you, to all of us. A Sangha is co-created by everyone who participates in it. So, the Sangha is whatever we all make it to be. So I think sometimes I can think that the side of me that can be apprehensive about life and how it will go can think that a Sangha is fragile and can just lean towards that end of the thinking of the things that could go wrong, the things that can fall apart. And in a way that's just one half, isn't it, of the cycle of life. Like the waning moon, yes, that is part of reality, as things do dissolve and disintegrate, and that's part of life. And then there is also the waxing moon and the spring and the summer and the kind of growth phase. And sometimes I need to kind of remember to lean into having faith in those aspects, in the kind of the growth and the regeneration and the strength, as well as the kind of dissolution. So it's good for me to kind of, this is an object which has in its symbolism a lot of resilience and a kind of profound, deep strength. And it's a good reminder for me both of those qualities in a Sangha, because we are we, not just one on their own. So we're many different individuals, and we're also all the kind of web of networks and connectivity between us. So that's a pretty dynamic and resilient arising being, isn't it? So yeah, a bit more kind of faith in the strength of Sangha is good for me. And of course it's an image of the Dharma. And yeah, luckily, it's not, none of it is just up to me or to any single one of us. But to the degree that the Dharma can come through us, then that transforms our lives and the lives of other people who are touched by us. And I am in some ways a bit sad to be stepping down as chair. There was a bit of me that still had loads of things I wanted to do and felt passionate about. So as Akasharaja said, I've not got any intention of leaving. And so in different ways, I'm sure I can carry on doing and giving. That sentence definitely had a direction to it, which I've now lost. Where did it start?
You still had lots of ideas and things you wanted to do.
Yeah, I had lots of things that I did want to do, and I think sometimes my drive and determination can be stronger than the vessel that carries it. And I think I think it's appropriate that I have stepped down. And in a way, this week has probably made that even more clear, because I've been in and out of hospital and supporting my folks, and I just think I kind of thought I don't feel able to serve the centre in the way that I have done in the past and the way that I would want to. And I've not, kind of trying to do too many things and then feeling like I'm doing none of them very well is an uncomfortable feeling for me. I really like to be wholehearted where I can. So I think it was wise at some point, didn't kick in immediately, but a kind of acknowledgement of the limitations of the conditions that I'm in, and a kind of allowing things to change and to dissolve, for one form to dissolve and allow another form to arise. Do you want some water? Feel free to go grab some. So I'm just so pleased that this centre did come into being. I just really wanted, I suppose, the experience that I'd had years ago going along to the London Buddhist Centre, and the inspiration and friendship and transformation that brought about in my life. I just thought I want that kind of portal to those possibilities to be there for others. I can't remember now which of you said it, but just a place where we see our own potential and where people around us are kind of looking out for that. Rather than looking out for our faults, they're looking out for the glimmers of our potential. Maybe not always, but that's the direction they're wanting to head in, and we do that for each other. And I think it's a place that reminds us to orientate to it in ourselves, to keep looking for our potential. And I think the four of you have very well evoked, in a way, my potential, me at my best. I hope that this place carries on doing that for all of us and others who come, being a kind of a spark, a portal to something that is beyond what we thought was possible for ourselves and for others. I think that's that's it. Thank you.
We have 3 sardoos.
I was thinking exactly the same. Let's have 3 hearty sardoos at this point.